right? What are the 4 possibilities to any situation? Now, this came to my mind earlier this morning, right? And I'm like, I gotta write this down. Now, I don't know, honestly don't know if this is like something that I've heard before and just remembered, or if it's something I just kind of came up with. I'm not 100% sure. But, so, and to give you a little backstory about the 4 possibilities. I was having a conversation with someone, and they were telling me about their situation, their relationship, or whatever, and they're kind of going back and forth about the good about the person that they're with, the bad about the person that they're with, and it's just like, I mean, it's bad enough to where they are picturing a life without this person, right? I think that is um, clear evidence that there's a problem, right? So, this person is unsure about what they should do, right? So I'm like, there's really only 4 ways that this can go. There's really only 4 possibilities, and basically it boils down to this, right? And to me, I think it can fit in just about any scenario, situation. Sorry, I had to get over it. But there's 4 possibilities, right? You can keep going and be happy. You can give up and be happy. You can keep going and be miserable, or you can give up and be miserable, right? Now, like I said, I don't know if I've heard that somewhere, or if it is legit something that just came to me, but it kind of just popped up in my head this morning, right? So, to go over them again, you could either keep going and be happy, give up and be happy, keep going and be miserable, or give up and be miserable. So, what I would basically say to anybody is to break those down, right? Put them in order of likelihood to actually happen, right? Are you much more likely, if you compare the possibility of continuing on, right? Say, for instance, if you decide to keep going, what is which is more likely to happen if you keep going? Are you going to be happy, or are you going to be miserable? Right? If you know that this is a constant, never-ending cycle, right? This keeps happening, it keeps going and going and going and going. There's a strong possibility that you could be miserable. Now, it's very possible that the other person involved, or whoever else is involved in your situation, they can flip a switch. They could see. Sometimes it takes a certain situation for us to kind of get out of our own head, or stop looking at our own needs and whatnot, and finally look at our partner or whoever else is involved and say, okay, you know what? I can see that you aren't happy. I can see that this isn't working out well for you. This keeps happening. Sometimes it just has to come. It has to pop up on certain people, right? So there's if you keep going with the situation, right? There's a strong possibility that you could be miserable in that situation. Especially if it's a problem, right? Obviously, there's some sort of misery there, right? So, if it's a constant, never-ending cycle, you could keep going and be miserable. There's the possibility that you could keep going and be happy, right? Now, if the bad outweighs the good, you know, or if you find yourself putting so much emphasis on the bad that, you know, the bad really is really bad, then it's not that likely that you are going to keep going and be happy, right? So there's possibly situations where if you keep going the way, especially if you keep going the way you've been going, you know, then it's less likely that you're going to be happy, right? Then look at, you know, what if you give up? What if you just, you know, what if you gave up and just let it go, right? Whether it's a relationship, friendship, whatever the case may be. If you decided to give up, what is the likelihood that you would be happy if you gave up? You know, would you be happier if you gave up? If you let go of this person, you no longer had this person in your life? You know, does having them in your life bring you more joy than misery? You know, could you let, like, say, if, like I said, if you let go, could you be happy? Or if you were to let go, if you really think about it, would you be miserable? Would you start to miss all of the things all of the good things? You know, so like I said, it's a simple concept, but it's something that I don't think a lot of people really actually think about when they're going through situations. Is, you know, those four possibilities. So what is the what is the likelihood? I think in certain situations, and it all depends on your mindset as well, but I think in certain situations, if it's to that point, then, you know, there's a strong possibility or likelihood that if you keep going and be miserable, might be at the top of the list. And keep going and be happy could be at the very bottom of the list. It all depends. Like, but all four possibilities are possible, right? You could absolutely give up the situation and be miserable, you know, because you gave up something that, you know, might not have been perfect, you know, but you had got to that point where, you know, you were so attached that, you know, it was, you know, what you regret letting go of what you were so attached to. And we'll talk about the three pillars of a relationship, or the three things that make up a strong relationship. We'll talk about that in another video. But something to consider. Like, if you're going through a situation, just write out those four possibilities. Keep going and be happy, keep going and be miserable, or give up and be happy, or give up and be miserable. And rank them in order of likelihood, the way things are going at the current moment. What is the most likely outcome? Like, for instance, I'll give you an example of my relationship, right? I would say that keep going and be happy would be at the very top of the list. At least for my relationship. I'm quite happy with my relationship, quite happy with my wife and the way we are. I would say give up and be happy would probably be number 2, honestly, because I'm so sure of myself. You know, I mean, I'm pretty confident in myself. Like, I obviously don't want to give up my, you know, relationship, but I'm sure of myself to the point where, like, if we did have to break things off, you know, I'm going to figure it out. You know, there's going to be a level of misery, obviously, you know, but I'm going to figure it out, right? And so, and I wouldn't want her to, like, if we had to break things off, right? I would not want her to go on, like, be single and be miserable. You know what I mean? Like, that's not the type of person I am. I don't want her to be miserable if she's not with me. you know, even though ain't nobody out there like me, you know. But at the very bottom for me, it would be keep going and be miserable because there's no, you know, there's no misery in my life, or at least the way I see it. You know what I mean? There's no misery, so that's at the very bottom of the possibilities, right? Um, so yeah, if that let me know if that made sense. Leave me a comment. Let me know if that made sense, if that helped you at all. And let me know if you plan to try this out. If it like I said, if it works, it works. If it doesn't work, let me know how I could tweak that. Or if you heard that somewhere and I just can't recollect where I heard it from, please let me know, because I would love to give whoever credit for this thought. So anyway, like I said, I hope this helped you out. Like the video, comment, subscribe, all of that stuff that people suggest to you on YouTube, and talk to you next time.